Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. I am here to do the ranking video for the Goosebumps Hall of Horrors book series. There are 6 of these books, and that's it. Of course, the first one was originally going to be a Horrorland book, but it became a Hall of Horrors book. This series basically has an opening and a closing that involves this guy called the Storyteller, who apparently has a castle in the midst of Horrorland, which I thought was a really cool idea. We didn't learn about that portion of his story until like book 3 or 4, which I thought was pretty cool. And he basically will interview kids that come to his castle in each book, in each story of these books are told by these kids, and that's pretty cool. It's typically in first person, which is kind of wild, but I understand why. Typically, Hall of Horrors was very consistent, and I really enjoyed that about it. I thought they were typically good stories. They sometimes felt like they could be filler books for like the OG 62 Classic series, but they weren't. This is its own little era of Goosebumps after Horrorland, before Most Wanted and Wanted, and I really enjoyed most of these books. So when I make this ranking list, you might be surprised because there are some that people really hate that are a little bit higher up, some that people weren't that crazy about that are higher up, and some that people really love that are a little bit lower, I have a lot of my favorites. I have some really good ones in here that I really enjoyed, and I've read pretty much, at this point, I've read basically every Goosebumps series out there. I have 3 books left until I'm done with everything Goosebumps book-wise, just so you have some context to understand why I liked a couple of these books so much and thought they were some of the best ideas from Goosebumps ever, and some of the best Stein books I'd ever read, for that matter. There's a lot of good stuff in Hall of Horrors, and I do recommend it, but this ranking video will not have any spoilers, in case you're curious about that, and I'm going to go ahead and delve into this now, because I've reviewed all 6 of these books individually in case you'd like to check them out. I do have a playlist as well on my channel in case you'd like to check that out too, if this happens to be the first ever video you saw from me, or if you missed those videos for whatever reason, here you go. Alright, so starting at the bottom of the list, the bottom of the barrel itself, number 6, the final one ever come out, was called The Birthday Party of No Return. That also happens to be number 6 of the series. I think it's horrible. It's such a bad book. My lowest rating on any of the books I reviewed from this series, this era, if you'd like to call it that. The Birthday Party of No Return, it's a misadvertisement. The birthday party thing is another character. It's not even our main character like you would assume the title would be focused on, because it would be a main character protagonist thing. It's not. It's a monkey's paw knockoff of a story about a vulture claw thing bringing a kid good luck. Sometimes it turns into bad luck. It's such a lame book. I hate it. It's illogical and it's dumb. And not that it has to be logical, it's a supernatural story. It's a lot of the contents in here that should be more logical that are totally not. On top of, I hate the characters in this book. I think Lee, the main character, the one I just reviewed this today, by the way, a little bit ago before I reviewed this, or made this video, I mean. This kid is awful. He is a jealous, scummy, selfish kid, and I can't stand him. Same thing with the rest of the kids in the book, too. They're all awful, including his friend group. They have like 2 kids. But anyway, that is number 6 for a rightful reason. That is easily the only one that I truly felt was a bad book. Like, I didn't like it, I had barely anything about it I did like about it. It's just garbage. Don't even bother with it. If you're gonna read the Goosebumps books that you think are good recommendations, don't waste your time. It's garbage. My number 5 pick on my list happens to be number 2 in the series, Night of the Giant Everything. I'm not a big fan of shrinking person stories, and that's kind of what this is. I thought originally by the title it just never clicked in my brain it was possibly a shrinking person story, which I complain about all the time on the channel. I've read it so much in Goosebumps, I've seen it so much in 1950s sci-fi and horror movies and stuff, it's just old. I'm sick of seeing that in everything. Night of the Giant Everything, in my brain, I thought would be like some kind of mad scientist thing of bugs getting too big, or maybe a pencil and then a bug. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, but it turned out to be a shrinking person story. This one was not the worst ever, though. It wasn't that bad. I actually thought it was fairly cool. It had some good moments, some good humor to it. For example, the main character, to try to find clothes, because his clothes are too big now that he's shrunk, he has to put on doll's clothes. And I thought they were pretty funny. He had to wear like a whole suit. It reminded me of Champ from the Goosebumps movie from 2015. But anyway, this was cool. I liked it. Wasn't horrible. If you don't like shrinking person stories, it's not bad at all. I do recommend it in that regard. If you're into that kind of story, I think you'll like it a lot. It's probably one of the better, if not the best, of the shrinking person story stuff. Like, kind of like there with Why I'm Afraid of Bees, even though that's technically not a shrinking person story, but you know what I mean. Anyway, moving along to my number 4 pick here. This is one that I really had some higher hopes for. It might surprise some of you guys that it's as low as it is, because there's another one people did not like that I liked more than most people. This one here is a Halloween-themed book, and it's called The Five Masks of Dr. Scream. Yes, that is at the number 4 spot on my list. This is kind of a cool story about a brother and sister that are going out trick-or-treating, and essentially they have to go out and collect these 5 masks for this lady named Bella that they talk to. Because there's an evil sorcerer that gets loose, or whatever this guy is, gets loose every single year. He and this lady named Bella are over like 100 years old, and every Halloween night they have to have the showdown of Bella basically having to get a couple of kids, or one kid, or somebody in the town, in the same exact house, in the weirdest way, to go hunt down the 5 masks from this guy. And it felt like a little rushed, you know? They kind of, every time they collect a mask, they could take into like another flashback of history of some sort. They could put them in danger, they could die there. That stuff is pretty cool. I like that with the mummy mask and stuff in here. I thought all that stuff was pretty cool. There are nitpicks and complaints about this. It is a good read. It was a fun read. I liked it. It was adventurous. It is a special edition book, so it is longer than the rest of them. It's closer to about 170 pages, I think. Let me look again, just to be on the safe side. Yeah, about 173, according to the end of the book. I was looking forward to this so much, not only because it was a Halloween book, because it was a mask-focused book, which I love that kind of thing when it comes to Goosebumps, but also because this is the final Goosebumps book I had left that my grandmother had gotten me before she passed away in 2015, that I had to read and review for you guys. I was really hoping for something better. It was kind of a disappointment for the most part, but I had a good time. It was a decent read. It was fine. I liked it. Cool read. Cool concept. I wish it had been done better, though, because to me, if it had been 200 pages, you could have really rounded it out and made it a better book, in my opinion. But that's just my personal taste and opinion. You guys might like that one more, but for me, it's the number 4 spot. Moving along to the halfway mark. This is my top 3. And again, at this particular point, a lot of you guys who have read these books, which these are newer Goosebumps books from the last, like, 15 years, a lot of you guys know about these because you can still buy these in the store. Mainly the first one, called Claws. But a lot of these you can still get in like Barnes & Noble, or like Books A Million, something like that. Now, a lot of you guys might know more about this series than you do like the OG books and stuff. But this particular pick for number 3 might piss some of you off, but I liked this book a lot. I thought it was really fun for what it was. The themes of it and stuff I thought were cool. It wasn't the greatest execution of this kind of story you could have ever done, but I liked what I got with it. It was pretty cool to me. That number 3 pick is Why I Quit Zombie School. Yeah, I love the cover for this. This might be my favorite cover. I haven't decided yet. I need to do that after this video, recording, so that I can try to get that cover ranking video up together too, with this one and the review for the final book, The Birthday Party of No Return. But I love this cover, man. They have a kid with his eyeball popping out of his head. How could you not love that? That immediately started this book off on a good note for me. And then reading about a kid starting at a new school where it seemed like everybody was off. He was seeing kids eat dead squirrels outside of the school the first day he gets there. It's a boarding school, so he has to kind of fake being alive while everybody else is clearly dead. And they're even asking him questions like, hey, you know, when did you die? You know? It's a pretty wild concept, and it feels very Goosebumps-like. I'm surprised this was not a Give Yourself Goosebumps book. I think somebody mentioned that in one of my videos. Either that or 5 Masks of Dr. Scream. Both of them sound very Give Yourself Goosebumps, choose your own adventure types of stories, and they would be really cool to have that. But I really liked this. I thought it was cool, and I did like it more than 5 Masks, which a lot of people would probably disagree with. But that's just my personal opinion. I enjoyed this. It has a little bit of gore to it, too, which kind of surprised me. There's one particular scene involving, I think it was soccer, and that was shocking, to say the least. Anyway, moving along to my number 2 pick on my top 2, which these top 2 had phenomenal concepts. One was executed a lot better than the other, but both overall are very enjoyable, very good. One I'm surprised, this current pick I'm surprised with, had never been done in anything I'd ever seen. Books, movies, video games, anything. I've read a lot, I've watched a lot in my life when it comes to horror and concepts and sci-fi type stuff. I've never seen my number 2 pick done before, and that is Don't Scream. I like this one a lot. Really, really good book. Really good, newer, 15-year-old-ish Goosebumps book. This one is really solid. It involves a lot of electronic stuff and just digital stuff, mainly with cell phones. At this time, smartphones were still fairly new. They'd only been around for a couple of years at that point. I think about 2010 or so, somewhere in there. And you had people, maybe it's closer to 2012, so it had been around for about 4 years or so. But still, smartphones were not everywhere like they are now. I mean, everybody has one now. At that time, in 2012, people still didn't have them everywhere. You know, I don't know when this came out, but I'm fairly certain it's like 2011 to 2012, somewhere in there. I really, really enjoyed this. It was super fun. Basically, a kid is on a school bus. He's a bullied kid. I really rooted for this kid, too. He finds a cell phone on the school bus, and he picks it up and starts playing around with it, and a voice comes out of the phone. And even when he turns the phone off, the voice still won't stop. And he doesn't know if he's just going crazy or if the voice is actually there. And sometimes it can even jump from electronic to electronic, like to a stereo system or anything like that. It's such a creative, fun read. The villain character, Emmy, as she's known by, the voice from the phone, is great. One of the best Goosebumps villains ever. I really agree with my boy Goosebumps Completionist when he said that in my comments, I think it was yesterday for this book review. I really agree with the guy. He's right. This is one of the best villains ever done in Goosebumps. I'm surprised that Emmy doesn't have more of like sequels or just appreciation, but it seems like most people I've talked to who have read this book really dug it as well. So it's a good pick. I just don't think it's as good as my #1 pick, which is kind of a Pet Sematary from Stephen King knockoff called Claws. It's not a big knockoff of Pet Sematary. That feels like a little unfair. But there's clearly some inspiration in here from Pet Sematary. This is a fantastic book. Excellent book. Loved it so much. So close to being perfect. But for what it is in its concept and its execution, it is a fantastic book. And it just so happens to be the first book of the Hall of Horror series and happens to also be my personal favorite and the best, in my opinion, when it comes to quality, execution, writing style, all of it. The dark tone to this, the dark humor to this, is really fun. And I love that about it. Basically, there are two kids who are going to cat sit at a house when the local neighbors are out of town, and the cat manages to get out and gets ran over by a truck. And it's dead. And then the body disappeared. They don't know what's up with that. They end up going to a store at the mall, I believe is what it was. They're looking for a cat that looks just like this, just generic old black cat. But they see a ton of cats in this place that are black cats, but they might be too fat or too small, they might have the wrong colored eyes or a missing ear, different things like that. They're trying to find the right cat that looks just like this cat, and they manage to get one. And there's something wrong with this cat. It's very demonic-like. It's not happy at all. It's cool sometimes, and then other times it's not very happy, like I said. Claws is phenomenal. I recommend it highly above all of these books. It's easily my #1 pick. I think it's fantastic. It's super fun. It can be even creepy sometimes with some of the imagery in here. And to me, I think it's a better version of the old Series 2000 book, the #1 from that series, called Cry of the Cat. I think this is a better version of that story. I've had other people disagree with me in the comments of my review for this book. But Claws is excellent. I recommend it highly to you guys if you haven't read it before. Anyway, folks, that is my ranking for these 6 Hall of Horrors Goosebumps books. I really enjoyed reading all of them. I'm really thankful for all of you guys who checked into all of my reviews for them this, I think it was like 2 weeks I've been reviewing these. Yeah, it had to have been about 2 weeks. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the content. I hope you enjoyed this ranking video. And again, I have one more ranking video for this where I rank... I bit my tongue again. God. I have one more ranking video I'm going to make immediately after this video for the covers, worst to best. So hopefully you'll check that out too if you care about that, and my personal, random, stranger on the internet opinion about that. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching again. Watching again. I gotta slow down, dude. I gotta learn to slow down a little bit when I talk. It's kicking in a little bit. It's not good. Anyway. What did you guys think about my ranking? What are your rankings for these 6 books? If you've read them, I'd love to hear what you have to say down in the comment section down below. Or if you rank the ones you have read, I'd love to see all that down below too. Thank you for watching, guys. God bless you all. See you in future videos. Goodbye.